As in the West, the political authorities in the medieval Muslim East drew their legitimacy from spiritual authority. They were united in the person of the Caliph, the commander of the faithful. Successor to the Prophet, his rank was justified by his descent from the members of the family of God's messenger. As much a spiritual as a temporal lord, he ruled over all of Muslim society and all the lands it controlled. The local emirs could only take up their titles with his blessing. Unlike the other factions in this supplement, the forces of the Mutatawwi'a are not lordly armies. These religious volunteers come from all levels of Muslim society. Nobles stand alongside commoners, and townsmen fight beside desert dwellers. They sometimes form detachment within local armies or warbands that prosecute private jihads inspired by fanaticism or a desire to free Islamic lands from the infidel. Their equipment depends on each fighter's wealth and training. For those drawn from Arab or Turkic tribes, it could be very light. The Mutatawwi'a are a very aggressive faction that can send its troops to battle on camels. Their mounts and the like jinn's ability give them a fantastic mobility. Their offensive arsenal makes them fearsome at range as they are in melee, but it's the latter where they excel. The majority of their abilities make for melees that are devastating for both sides. Let's start off with the faction rules. The Warlord and his Hearthguard may be deployed without any special equipment or be mounted on horses or camels. Warriors can be deployed without any special equipment or be equipped with bows. The Mutatawwi'a have no levy options whatsoever. For this faction, you'll be using the Muslim dice. The special rule that distinguishes this faction is called Alua Akbar. This is a basic ability, so you can play it as many times as you want in a single turn. This allows you, with an uncommon dice, to remove one of your models, which is not a mercenary, and choose an enemy unit with an M of their unit. You roll 3 dice. The chosen unit suffers a casualty for each dice that rolls above their melee armor. If you remove a Hearthguard, you get a +1 bonus to each of the dice that you roll. Moving on to the playstyle. Most of the activations require you to lower your armor, and in return you gain several bonuses either through additional attack dice, rerolls, or additional damage. There are also a number of activations where you remove one of your own figures and in return get some bonuses. Since you don't have any levy, you can only remove warriors and Hearthguard. This becomes critical in scenarios where slaughter points are counted. Mutatawwi'a are a tough warband for a beginner because you need to be good at managing your armor levels and melee, timing your attacks and picking the right target not to bleed away too many victory points in the scenarios. As a Mutatawwi'a warlord, you need to accomplish all of your goals in melee, and this requires a very good understanding of what can be expected in melee from the game, and also what the opponent can do. Melee in Saga is always risky, and Mutatawwi'a have very little defensive abilities on their board. So in the opponent's turn, due to your low body count, you are very vulnerable, and any mistakes that you will make can be costly. In line with this, we're going to move on to the Warband Composition. To ensure that there are enough bodies on the table, I would suggest taking a decent number of warriors. Say 5 points of warriors and 1 point of Hearthguard, and you can explore some options from there. The exact composition is depending on the opponent, but a large shooting unit can punish any cavalry and can also punish your opponent if they put too many defensive abilities on their boar aimed at melee. Usually 10 to 12, and also with a war banner to remove the fatigue quickly. Their job essentially will be to pick off cavalry units and to drop 1 or 2 attacks from the opponent's unit, therefore giving your melee units a chance to survive a little bit longer. The rest of your warriors will be composed of just normal warriors with no special equipment. Although you do not have many defensive abilities, making counterattacks very costly to your enemy can be achieved by using both Promise of Paradise and the Name of Allah side by side. The second ability lowers your armor by 1 and also allows you to reroll any attack dice that you missed. The first ability, the Promise of Paradise, means that if your unit is eliminated, every single unit within S or L, if you use the rare dice, will receive an additional fatigue marker at the end of the melee. At least 1 point of Hearthguard mounted on camels is mandatory. The Warlord ideally should be on a camel as well. They can either hunt cavalry or levy in terrain. A very nice combo with the camels is also if you are fighting a mounted unit, you can use the Bloodbath ability. Although this reduces your armor by 1 and you have to discard 3 attack dice, each of your opponent's attack dice, which does not score a hit, adds automatic hits to the unit that inflicts them. As a summary, let's look at what are the good points of the Mutatawwi'a. They excel in hand-to-hand combat and are going to deliver an incredibly bloody game if you're into that. You also have a very good level of mobility, regardless of whether you are mounted on camels, horses, or just on foot. Some downsides are definitely that you will be dying very quickly with a few defensive abilities and also a very small warband. So any mistakes that you will make will be very costly. On to modeling options. In plastic, Gripping Beast has some very nice Arab infantry which both have melee weapons and bows. A box contains 44 models and will furnish you with most of the warband that you need. However, all the camo options will be in metal. For metal models, I'm a big fan of both Footsore and also Gripping Beast for their entire range of the Mutatawwi'a or Arab ranges which you can use. In summary, the Mutatawwi'a is not really a beginner warband. However, if you like death and destruction, it is definitely a warband you should look into. I hope you enjoyed this particular faction review, and I will be back with another one shortly.